Hi, everyone. I'm Teresa Lisum coming to you with my amazing guest co host, Kristine Skiff, and we're evolving women. I'm evolving, you're evolving, we're all evolving. So let's help each other to evolve. We're here to infuse the world with uplifting messages, new perspectives, empowering tools, fresh insights, some resources, maybe just planting some new seeds. And we talk about anything from wellness ideas to mindset shifts, any place that the breadcrumbs lead us in the course of our conversation. And we are dedicated to be a source of inspiration for you. We're here to give you permission to be your best self. So welcome, Kristine. We are so glad everybody's here. And welcome, Kristine Meiers Skiff. You're going to see her name is Kristine Meiers Skiff or Kristine Skiff, all the same person. So when you go look for her, just remember that it might be 3 words or 2. We don't know wherever you're looking, but I welcome you here. Thank you so much. And I'm going to ask our audience, what is true acceptance and what is true love? And we're going to explore that with Kristine today. So, Kristine, I know you've had an interesting trip that you are finishing up, and you were sharing with me before we started recording. If you'd like to share with our audience what's happening and why we're going over this topic today, we would love that.
Absolutely. And thank you for having me. I am so excited about this today. This is something that's really close to my heart. Um, I have I have 5 adult children, um, 4 sons, and I have a transgender daughter who came out in April as transgender. This has been a, honestly, for my husband and I, it was not hard to accept her as she is. We, we've always said we don't care who our kids love, who they, embrace. What we really care about is our children, and we love them as who they are.
Right.
And part of that may come, we had to learn a lot of lessons in that early when so many diagnoses of autism and then mental health issues came along. And I think that kind of prepares you for other things that come along in life, especially as they're adults and they make choices. And this isn't a choice, but they do make choices of things that are different than what you expected, or who they are is different than what you knew. And that's okay. We love them as they are. But we both come from very conservative families. I've been having a long discussion with my parents about this transition for trying to prepare them. And it has not been an easy conversation. They have, to them, you can accept a person, but not accept are, who they are as a transgender human being. And I'm trying to, my thing to them is this isn't something you choose, it's who you are. Therefore, you can't really choose. If you're choosing not to accept who they are, then you're not really accepting them. And my husband's been having similar conversations with his parents. Um, and it's been a process, something that we've been talking about with family and friends. And it came time for this trip up to Vermont and New York, where we were celebrating my husband's parents' 50th anniversary. We live in Texas. So it was a 4-day drive, packed in a car with 2 dogs, 4 of our 5, towing a U-Haul because my second, Serenity is her name, had been moving, and then she decided not to move. So it was all kinds of craziness, and we're like, that's just how we Skiffs roll. It's always something interesting. We pull up to my brother-in-law's house, and it's like a Norman Rockwell painting. It's from the 1820s. It's gorgeous old farmhouse, and just relaxing, the trees and the mountains. But I was on edge because I knew the confrontation was coming, between my mother-in-law and my son, because, or not my daughter, sorry, because they had both been saying basically, I am going to say what is on my mind to,
Mm.
and we're like, this is a 50th anniversary party. We need, just accept, embrace joy.
Mhm, mhm.
The day of the party came. It was a beautiful day. Lots of people showed up to support them and celebrate them, which is awesome. Only had one ambulance show up. So,
Gosh.
and thankfully, my husband's third cousin, she fainted, but she was okay now.
Mm.
Anyway, um, and towards the end, my mother-in-law gave a blessing, and she was blessing each person in the family, including the grandchildren. And I don't know if your audience knows, but when you call someone who has come out as transgender by their old name, it's called dead
Mm.
naming. And
It's
it's very
called what?
hurtful. Dead naming.
Oh,
Dead,
I did never heard that.
because they refer to their old name as their dead name.
Okay, gotcha.
And it's very hurtful. It's not hurtful when people do it by accident as much, but it's hurtful when it's done intentionally.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And she was pronouncing a blessing, and you could see when she came up to her name that she was struggling internally,
Mm.
and she said his old name. His,
Oh,
I'm referring to his
yeah,
because
yeah.
that's what she was referring to. So my daughter
Mm-hmm.
got up and she left.
Oh.
And she finished, my mother-in-law, she being my mother-in-law, finished her blessing over the family. She said, did I forget anyone? And um, one of our good friends said, you forgot Serenity, which is my daughter's name. And other family members said, yeah, Serenity. And to me, that was the ultimate act of
Mm.
love and acceptance, because some of the people that were doing this were people that were very conservative, that I would not have expected to support my child the way they were.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very meaningful to me.
Mm.
I do want to add that my mother-in-law and my daughter did end up having a good conversation. They spent some time together, and things, they might not see eye to eye, but there seemed to be some healing in that relationship towards the end. So I
Mm.
don't want it to be all
Great.
doom and gloom.
Mm-hmm.
But this brought me on a path of how do we and as women show our acceptance and our love and true acceptance, and what is true acceptance and true love, and how can where do you draw those lines, because in today's society, um, things are different than when we were kids. I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
47 years old, and things that
Mm-hmm.
were not talked about, that were closeted, that were very
Yes.
painful for so many people, and my heart breaks for them,
Mm-hmm.
are now more open, and they're talked about, and our kids are making strides and are living more openly, and I'm so happy
Mm-hmm.
for them.
Yes. Yes.
But how do us older generations really, make them feel our love and acceptance? And so that's kind of where my head's been over the past few days.
Oh, yeah, I bet. And I'm so delighted that there was some healing of that relationship between your mother-in-law and your daughter. That's so great to hear.
Yes.
But yeah, as you're talking, I'm thinking of like my parents, my husband's mom, if they weren't around when my relative transitioned, over to from one gender to another. And I would hope that they would be okay with it. I don't know because it was, after they had passed, but yeah, I can understand why it would be hard for someone of an older mindset, we'll
Right.
just say, to really accept that because it was hidden, it was not talked about, and it seems so much more visible and commonplace now. We just accept it. So we're a lot better about it, at least
Yes.
from my perspective. But yeah, and you just have to be gentle and give them grace and I guess not blame them for their old way of thinking,
Yeah.
because it's just, it can be a shock to the system. And it's just, yeah, I guess you have to let them be in what they're in. And if everything comes together, awesome. And if it doesn't, what can you do? It's their journey. You know, they have to make those choices, but.
And that's a really good point, because acceptance and love isn't just a one-way street.
Mhm.
You know, how do we show acceptance and love to people whose thoughts and feelings go against what we feel are tolerance and love and acceptance? How do we incorporate love and grace towards them while still maintaining, you know, our boundaries? And, you know, this is it because I don't know about you, but for me, especially growing up with in a very conservative place and with a conservative family, and then stepping away, I tend to be on more progressive side of things. Um, Stepping away from that, there's a lot of tension, because a lot of things are viewed as moral issues that I don't really view as moral issues. I view them as um, personhood issues. And so that, I think we're seeing that kind of tension throughout our entire country right now. And there's a lot of divide, and there's a
Yep.
lot of
Yep.
anger. And what we're seeing on this minuscule scale with our families, we're seeing on a national scale, and
Yeah,
the anger and
that's
the,
true.
this, you know, so how do we step away from that anger and really embrace each other no matter what our views, but still support and love the people who need our support and love? Because um, by accepting my mother-in-law, am I disrespecting my daughter? Can you do both? And, you know, these are kind of questions I think we need to all ask ourselves, because I think this dogmatic way of thinking that we have adopted as a country on either side is really tearing us apart.
Right,
And
right.
I really want to see us get back to a place where we can find love for each other, you know, and just really embrace each other despite our differences.
Yeah,
I
and
grew up, yeah, go ahead.
now that's a good point that you brought up. I mean, love and acceptance for your daughter, and you have to offer love and acceptance to your mother-in-law and those that are struggling and not
Right.
able to extend that acceptance. So yeah, both sides. And you're right. Can you offer to both of those? And is it disrespectful to one? I don't think so, in my opinion.
No.
You maybe have to, and I'm just saying you in general, not you personally, but maybe make it known that I'm going to accept and love you both, even though you have different opinions, you know, and like set the example possibly.
Right.
And you hold that middle road, and when they're ready, they'll come to that middle road.
Exactly. And I think, and what I'm kind of coming to is that I can be a strong supporter of individual rights and personhood. And I can draw that line and say, you know, when you're around me, please do not say these things. It's hurtful to people I love.
Oh yeah, I love that.
And it's hurtful to me because I love them. But I
Mm-hmm.
still can accept that and I can still love you, even if I think your opinions about this are wrong. You're still, you know, you still raised my husband. You still,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, you're still the same person who brought the kids Christmas gifts and, you know, all those
Right,
things.
right.
And, you know, kind of find a way to bring us together again, because the world is changing, and a lot has changed from when my mother-in-law's generation
Yes,
to my
yes.
child's generation, which is much more progressive than the generation I'm in.
Oh yeah,
And so, you know, we need to learn how to be that, you know, be what we want to see in the world, which is
right,
acceptance and that love.
right. Be that example, shine that light, allow other people to see you acting with acceptance and love.
Right.
And hopefully that will influence and inspire them to do the same. Plus, I also think this just happened in April that this information came to light. That's still really, really fresh.
It's
That's a
very
really recent thing that people have to come to terms with.
right. And
And
that is
so, over time, let's pray that yes, everything will smooth itself out and
yeah,
that acceptance will be more
more
embracing,
generalized.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And
So,
it's really about it's just I guess to me this is a microcosm
yeah.
of the larger things that we're experiencing. You know, what I do for a living is it is all about people's stories, and
Mm-hmm.
I and in hearing people's stories, my um my acceptance of the human experience has expanded so much
Mm,
because things and people that I never had experience with, now I'm hearing these deeply personal journeys, and I'm like,
mm,
oh my goodness, this is changing my worldview. And I really would think that as humans, if we can really get in touch with that within ourselves and hear each other and hear each other's stories and really embrace people where they're at, we will finally begin to move forward instead of backwards.
oh my God, I love that. So hearing somebody else's journey, their experience from their personal perspective
Yes.
can change your way of seeing a group of people or a stereotype
Right.
but it's instead of generalizing to really get down to that personal, like I said, hearing a person
Yes.
and understanding them through their story and their journey can, yeah, shift everything. So I think sometimes people, yeah, they just look at this broad thing, like I said, and they stereotype and generalize, and they don't look at the individuals that make up that group.
Right. And once you start seeing the individual instead of this personification of a group
Yes,
that we've
yes.
created,
Mm-hmm.
then you begin to understand that each person in this group is individual and each story is different, and how they came to where they are is different. And what would we have done if we were in their on their journey? Oh my
Mm-hmm.
goodness, um, I have said, and I will stick by this till the day I die, that I believe that our stories, um, and telling those stories is one of the most essential parts of who we are. That it goes
Mm.
back to the most basic parts of humanity. When
Oh,
we were
good
still in
point.
caves around fires, we told
Uh-huh.
stories to do, to get places. That was our map, a verbal map. We
Mm-hmm.
told it to
Mm-hmm.
pass on our legacies to, you know, techniques for farming as you move forward in history.
Mm-hmm.
These are
Mm-hmm.
all things that we learned and connected through story, through what our experiences were. And I think we've lost so much of that in this age of where everything is on the internet and we don't necessarily connect with people so much. I love that you're doing this kind of thing where we can actually talk face to face, even if we are thousands of miles apart.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But that does give us that connection. But a lot of times we just, it's a quick email and that's it. We don't
Yeah,
even know the
yeah,
person on the other side of the
yeah,
screen. And that
exactly.
happens with our families too as we spread out
Mm-hmm.
around the world. So
Mm-hmm.
I really I know it comes across, but I'm so passionate
I
about
can tell. I love it.
us connecting with each other and really getting past this, so much of the anger that we see, and especially
Mm-hmm.
in our country right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah. And what came to mind when you were talking about that, storytelling through the ages, we'll just say, or through the generations, um, and being spread apart. We pretty much stayed in a similar area
Right.
back in the day, and now, like you said, we're all over the place. I have family members states away and cross country, and we are spread out. And yes, the internet has allowed us to stay connected that way, but physically we're apart. And
Yeah.
that wasn't the thing back, 200
No.
years ago or whatever.
And I mean, that's so true. And what you saw daily, you were part of people's daily life, which
Yes,
gave you a
yes.
connection that we don't have all the time. We live in Texas. Our nearest family is 1,300 miles from us.
Wow.
That is not a daily trip. That's not,
Yeah. Right.
running to grandma's for a cup of sugar.
Right.
Um, so how, again, it's all part of the same thing that's been going through my brain. How do we really connect with each other? How do we really show each other we love each other through action, not just words? Because
Mm-hmm.
what happened for my daughter at that and during that experience was an action. It was an action of people saying, we're standing up for
Mm-hmm.
her.
Yeah. 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 They
And
didn't just sit there closed mouthed, like
and
wanting
they
to do
couldn't.
something. They actually did something and said
Right,
something.
just was really meaningful to me as her
Mm-hmm.
mom, and I know it was meaningful to my daughter. Um, so it doesn't. Yes, we're talking about something that's controversial. This, whether with transgender or LGBTQ, but this doesn't
Mm-hmm.
really apply only to these areas of
Yes.
life. It's about
Right.
everything. It's
Right.
about bringing back the humanity to our conversations and interactions, and really showing love. Um, because I really feel like everyone is dying to be loved, and I think
Yes.
we've
Yes.
lost how to love.
I was just going to bring it back around that the core of the person, the spirit of the person, the soul of the person is what remains the same,
Right.
irregardless of what appearances are or what actions are being taken, or, you know,
Yeah. What
it's,
gender you are,
yeah,
what
exactly.
gender you love. I've told my kids their whole lives since they were old enough for me to have these conversations. I don't care the gender of the person you love. I don't care, what you identify as or what they identify as, what you're into. What I care about is, are you both consenting adults? And do they love you and treat you well? And do you love them and treat them well? That's what I care about.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I was just going to say too, all of our stories are different. That's why I
Right.
love that you said we all have a story and we need to listen to other people's stories.
Yes.
And their journeys are all different,
Right.
but we still all want the same things. Like we still have these commonalities,
Yes.
even though we're on these different journeys and these different paths. Like I said, we all want to be loved. We all want acceptance. We all want to be safe. We all want, to be
Full
happy.
bellies.
Yeah, yeah. So we all underlying everything is our commonalities.
Yes.
And if we understand that and respect that and honor that, then the rest of it comes easy.
Yes, exactly. And
Mhm.
it's that, I don't know, it's just, I guess the older I get, I was a very impassioned teenager and young adult. I wanted to change the world,
Mm.
and I think when we're young, that passion is, there's so much passion, but there's not a lot of direction for that
Yeah.
passion.
Not a lot of fun, maybe.
Right. And the older I get, there's not as much energy for that kind of passion, but there is more of a direction from the wisdom of just having the experiences of life and having lived life. And
Hmm.
the older I get, what I have come away with is, you know, um, love your neighbor as yourself.
Yes, yes.
The
Yeah.
golden rule.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if what religion your neighbor is, they, you know, what they celebrate or don't celebrate, how
Hmm.
they
Yeah.
dress, what they drive. It's all about just loving the person.
Hmm. And I know we need to wrap this up, but I'm just going to mention real quick, like come into that relationship or look at that person with curiosity. Like,
Right.
why do they think like that? How
Yes.
did they come to this decision? How did they, what are their passions? So just start being curious and act like you're on a discovery mission to see what is, how they got to this point. And then that's going to
Absolutely.
really lead you to more understanding, more respect, more Yeah, everything good.
And find a way to tell your story. I mean, seriously,
Yeah, I
too.
love that.
Pass it on. Give it to your family. Give it to your friends.
Hmm.
All those experiences and the wisdom you've gained, give it, pass it on,
Love
and
that.
listen to theirs. Listen,
Yeah,
hear them
yeah,
grow.
yeah.
The minute I stop growing is I hope I don't ever stop growing and
Yeah,
learning.
me too. I feel the same. Then we start contracting, and yeah, that's a whole
Right.
nother story. But yeah, I think we're going to wrap this up for right now. Um, are you open to a second conversation then?
I would love to have a second conversation.
Okay, so I'm going to invite our audience to watch for the second episode. Where this is going to be part one. We're going to do part two and carry on the conversation and see where that leads us. But in the meantime, I'm going to invite you to think about yourself, and are you being accepting? Are you being loving? It all starts with us. Yes, we are a microcosm of what's going on in the world. And yes, the world looks chaotic and it's divided and there's black and white, and we need to um, be open to something that's not so extreme. And if
Right.
we're leading by example, then things will change. I think they are changing for the better, but
Great.
we need to start with ourselves. And like you said, our own family, our own communities, and then it will have a ripple effect outward.
Thank you so much. This has been so much fun.
Thank you for being here. I so appreciate your thoughts and your passion. So we want to invite everyone to look for Kristine on different platforms. You want to tell them where to find you, Kristine?
Yes, I'm on Facebook. You'll find me under Kristine Meiers Skiff or under my company, Gift and Author Publishing. Also on LinkedIn, again, Kristine Meiers Skiff or Gift and Author Publishing. Or you can contact me through my website, and all that will be on, will be
In
giving
the
you that
description. Yeah,
in
in
the
the
description.
description with this episode. So reach out to her if you feel moved to have a conversation with Kristine just about what we talked about. I'm sure you're open to that, correct, Kristine? She
Absolutely. I
can
would love
maybe
to
help
talk.
you. And if you want to share your story in a public format, in a book version, get a hold of her for that too.
It's fun, and I'm always open, and you'd be surprised how amazing it is to get that story out, whether it's through a book or just through recording it verbally, just get the
Yeah,
story
yeah,
out there.
and passing it along. That's so huge. We may talk about that in our next episode. So
Yes.
thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Subscribe, share with a friend, all that stuff you're supposed to say at the end of these
Yes.
things. And thank you, Kristine. It has been a delight chatting with you. So
Thank
we
you
will
for
see you in the
having me
next
so much.
episode. Bye-bye.